Betty Ann was real countrified, I thought. I wanted to sound very dramatic, and I told the teacher my name was Betsie Ann, and I spelled it B-E-T-S-I-E. And I was born at Shackleford Hospital in Martinsville, Virginia, December 20th, 29, when I was 3 years old. Of course, I was the baby. My mother and father were separated, and she wouldn't go back to him because he was running every gal in town, and she just said, that's not for me. So we were at my grandma and grandfather's house for the night. My mom went to the movies, and my dad went over there and wanted to pick us children up. And my papa said, no, Lola brought them here, she'll pick them up, and you get off my porch. I don't want to have to get my shotgun. Gee, don't want no excitement, just go. So he left, and we lived right down the road a little piece in a little house. So he went down there, and my mother had gone to a movie, and he hid behind a large tractor that was working on the road and waited for my mother to come home from the movies. And when she got out of the cab pulled out, he put 3 bullets in her, turned her over with his foot and put another one in her back, and then blew his brains out. So they took my mom to the hospital. Thank God she lived. But he was dead. And the reason he went over for us, he had told a friend he was going to take care of the whole family that night. He was going to put them all to rest. So Lucky Pop didn't give us to him, or I wouldn't be here. So from there on, my mom seemed to disillusioned. She couldn't walk for 3 years, so we were with relatives here and there. Of course, always someone who was taking care of us, I'll say that. We always had good care. But we didn't have her with us all the time. And then when she did get better, we went into this little log cabin, real little log cabin. And after going through the 6th grade, my mom was taking care of us kids the best she could. I think my uncles were making liquor at the time, and she was hauling it possibly to give us a home, to pay for keeping us. And at, I guess I was about 10 years old, she got into a problem with a boyfriend. I don't know, he stole some money from a store or something, and Mom was tied in with him. And she was away for a whole year. And that's when I went to live with they were my distant uncle of my father's. And I ended up staying there 3 years. They were very good to me. They lived on a farm in Bassett. And I went to Bassett School, elementary, and then I stayed on with them till the 7th grade. I was 13. I went to school, all the rich kids. I was a little poor girl, but I was with the rich people. And they wanted to adopt me, but my mother wouldn't let them. So she was in Wilmington, Delaware, when my brother was joining the Navy, and my sister was 19 thereabouts, going to be a beautician. And I was still with the Metses, but my brother came down and got me. He really kidnapped me. I wasn't supposed to leave their house until Mom came and signed papers for me to leave, and knowing where I was going. So he whistled at me. He was in the rose garden hiding, told me to get my clothes on, what I wanted to wear, and meet him because we were going. He was taking me to my mother. We got on a train, and they pulled us off the train in Rocky Mount. And it says you can't go around kidnapping people. That's what this is, even though it's your sister, young man, and my brother was in the Navy. He says, well, I'm wearing a uniform. And the judge says, I don't care about that uniform. He says, well, I'm fighting for the country you're sitting in, Judge. And finally the judge says, well, you take your little sister and you get out of here and don't come back to this state. And keep serving this country. So I went to Wilmington, Delaware to live, and I went to school at Warner Junior. We moved in a big house. My mother had a rooming house that used to belong to Estelle DuPont. And she bought a lot of the furniture that was there. And she rented to the women that worked at the powder plant in Elton. And they had a room, and she cooked for them, so. And she even went down and welded on the ships at Dravo, because she was tiny and she could get in and out of the portholes and everything. And I had the job of cleaning the stairways from the top floor down 3 stories high. And it really taught me a lot about cleaning, that's for sure. And from there, we moved out to Newport. And I was staying with my sister for a while because my mother was having problems with this one bullet that was left in her. And she was in and out of hospitals to get it removed, but it would float. And she actually ended up dying with it in there. Didn't hurt anything, but they never were able to take it out. But I went to Conrad High School for 9th and 10th grade. And my mother decided she wanted to go to New York City and take me. So we got to New York. She put me in Vogue modeling school. I was going to be a great model. But I didn't like that. I was bored with it. So I didn't tell her I quit the job, but I went over and walked around the city, and I went to the Palace Theater. I see Queen for a day. And I checked it out, and they needed usherettes. You wore cute little bell-bottom slacks and a little jacket, and I got a job. And I think I was there about 2 or 3 days, and my mother happened to call the modeling school, and I wasn't there. They said, she quit. What do you mean she quit? She quit. So I came home that night. My mother says, why didn't you tell me you weren't at the modeling school anymore, and where you were? You come home just like you were going to modeling school. I said, well, I have a job usherette at Queen for a day. And I was really having a good time, and it paid pretty good money. Then the guy upstairs had a dance studio, Dale Studios. And he asked me if I danced, and I said, oh yes, I've learned every dance there is to do since I've been here in New York. And he had me try out doing a cha-cha-cha and a ringue and all the waltzes and the tango. I could do them all. And he says, well, show me. He brought his instructor out, and I must have shined real good. He says, sign her up, we got a new employee. And I was only 17. So I had to get my working all straightened out, the papers. I was the youngest instructor there. I used to dance at the Roseland, and I won 3rd prize at the Harvest Moon Ball one year with a little short Italian man about come up to my nose. But we did our dances all right. And then we went back to Wilmington. I visited my sister there, and we moved back to Wilmington. And I went on this cruise ship, the Wilson Line, that would go from Wilmington up to Philadelphia at night, and you could dance on it and whatever. And I happened to look down at the engine room one time. I saw this nice, handsome Italian guy. And I told my sister-in-law, that's the guy I'm gonna marry. She says, you don't even know him. I said, I'm telling you, that's the guy I'm gonna marry. Well, it wasn't long. He came up for a smoke, and he introduced himself. And I was just dying. I had met my match. And You say the old, you tremble in your shoes and all that kind of stuff. Well, I did. And I was so loony with him. All I talked about at home about him, and my mother said, this is ridiculous. She says, we're going to take a vacation and go to Florida. She had a boyfriend that had a nice Roadmaster Buick, so we took the vacation, and it didn't dawn on me. She was taking me to get me away. Well, I was there 2 weeks. I didn't have a chance to meet any young guys there because we had 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks. The water was knee-deep outside of our little cottage. And I said, if you don't send me home, I'm going to run away. I don't like this place. So she put me on the silver meter and sent me home. And he wasn't working there anymore. I had to search and search and search. Finally, I located his cousin that lived over on 34th Street in Wilmington, and they told me where he was. And I called him. And I would say the wedding was very soon, because we went up to the notary public, and my father-in-law, who was the best man they ever brought on this earth, he was like a father to me. Then and forever, we got married in front of the Justice of the Peace. He said, well, son, I had thought of a big wedding for you, but it was beautiful, just us. And I was in heaven. I was so happy. I had the man I loved, and just, the world was going to end. And the very night I slept with my husband, I was a virgin. I got pregnant that very night because my sister said, I hope you know the procedures on how to not get pregnant. Oh, of course, of course. I went in the bathroom and just washed. Took a nice shower, and I thought that's all you had to do. And I said, a few weeks later, when it was time to have the wrong time of the month, I didn't have it. And I found out I was pregnant. Well, I was very happy to think I was going to have a baby. And I had a happy pregnancy. Happy, felt good. And my father-in-law was so proud of me, he would get me a new dress, and every big wedding that come up, I went to it with my father-in-law. My husband didn't want to go. He didn't like those things. But my father-in-law took me. He was so proud of me, and I was so happy. He treated me like a father would. And gosh, when my little girl was born, she was a healthy baby. Everything was fine. And at 4 months old, she had a cold. And I took her to the doctor's. And he says, well, this can be quite a problem with her heart problem. And I said, what heart problem? He says, you didn't know? He said, she's got a serious problem. He said, the x-ray, we have to have more, and very extensive x-rays and everything, and she had a hole between the left and right ventricle, interceptical defect. And we lived with that precariously. At 3 years old, they did a patent ductus, operated on her from here to here on the outside, but it wasn't a problem. It was inside. And they found out it was an intervensecular septical defect, a hole between the left and right ventricle, probably about the size of a quarter. So he says, if we have to pace for time, they're only doing a few open heart surgeries. That's what this will require. So at 9 years old, 1959, my doctor here took us up to the University of Pennsylvania, and she had open heart surgery, which they corrected. There was every doctor, I think, of any importance in the United States around her bed. It was unbelievable, and it worked. And she was home in 11 days doing homework from school. And it worked out great, but he said take her where it's warm so she won't get colds, I advise you. So with this, I decided to go to Florida, and my mother came with me so she could take care of the children for me while I worked. And off we went to Florida, 1959, which was a good move. I was there 50 years. And I had had my Patricia, of course, 2 years after I had Kathy. She's healthy in all aspects. And when I went to Florida, I was without a husband. I decided I wouldn't share him with all the women in town. So I got a divorce in 1954, right before her surgery. And my father, he said he wouldn't sign for her heart surgery, because if we had to lose her, we should lose her when she's young. I said, you don't have to sign, you're no longer on the papers. I have total custody, and my father-in-law stood by me the whole time I was around him. Then when I went to Florida, he was in a nursing home, and I used to come back every year and visit him until he passed away. But in Florida, I was very unfortunate. At 35, I got cancer of the cervix. And the same year, Kathy had scoliosis surgery on her back. She was in a cast, and I said, oh, Lord, please, I got to take care of my daughter. And the little one, she's fine. They went to Catholic school, doing very well. And she got married later at 18. Had a daughter. The marriage didn't work. So I helped her with her daughter. Then she met another nice young man, and they got married. And lo and behold, I guess marriages don't work too long in my family. They were married, I guess, about a year, 2 years. She got pregnant and had a lovely little boy. And their marriage was going, and finally he was drinking and stopping on the bar for hours and hours. And she wasn't happy. And first thing I know, there came a divorce. So there we were. I said, you know, you can't keep going on this way. You're better off to stay single. Well, she met a guy later, and she said, I refused to marry him. So she was with him long enough to get one little girl. That gave her 3 children. I love them all. And my granddaughter was about 16. I found out she was playing school and things with the boys. And this one little boy in my neighborhood was more frequent around. First thing you know, she was pregnant. Here came my first great-grandchild. The best thing that ever happened in my life, outside of my own 2. He came into the world. They weren't married. I didn't see any signs of seriousness settling down. They were having a good time and arguing like crazy. And I didn't think that was how I wanted him raised. So I went over. I made her an offer she couldn't refuse. I wanted him to come live with me and sign the papers. He'd be with me till he's 21. And due to the fact she had removed some jewelry from my house by this time, I said, it's either one of 2 things. You say bye-bye and go to jail for stealing my jewelry, or you sign for me to take your little boy with me. So she signed the papers, and I raised him till he was 21. The greatest little guy in the world, well, he's not little anymore. He's 6 foot and weighs 210. Calls me every day of my life, makes my life beautiful to this day. And I'm now in an, I guess you would call a senior citizen home. I'm not in assisted living because I do everything for myself. I bank myself, I shop myself if I need anything. My daughter that I have, the one daughter, would gladly get it for me, but I like to be independent and do it myself, which most young people don't realize this, but I left Florida and went to Denver. And when you go someplace new and you're already entering older age, you don't make the friends you had in your younger years. They're not the same, because the people there have their friends already. It's not the same caliber of friendships. So therefore I do everything by myself mostly. I go to the sport bar and watch my ball games because I got talk from people that can talk back and forth to me, whereas many of my senior citizens with me don't know who they are or do not talk that much. I help them where I live, but I have to get out of there to get some speech for myself, some feedback when I tell stories. So therefore, I really find peace there because my daughter's busy with a sick husband. She's having troubles with her health. And I don't prey on anyone else got to be my keeper. I get out and find livelihood. There's only one thing. I would have probably gotten married back, I guess, in about 1970. I dated a young man. First time I ever dated anyone younger than me. He was about 12 years, but I didn't know it. I was 40, and he was 29. And he was with the mafia, and I didn't know it. And I dated him for 2 years. Never any inkling. I was treated like a queen. My family was treated like royalty. He got rid of one of my son-in-laws that was a horrible young man. Told him never to come near my house again, or he would take him for a ride, and I thought, he's being a bold man, big deal. Well, he's just a regular man, you know. The next day we read in the paper where Gary Bodak was arrested, hitman for the mafia. He shot a man 7 times in Hialeah, but the man didn't die. And I even asked him myself, you're a bad shot, I guess, when I found this out. That was my remark. He said, no, I was sent there to scare him, not kill him. How many times can a person shoot someone 7 times and not kill him? That's talent. I said, I guess so. Anyway, he heard that the mafia had a contract out on him in the Atlanta prison. As soon as he entered there, they were going to kill him to keep him from talking. So he turned state's evidence for them. They relocated him, and he's gone. Never heard from him again. But I must say, it was one of the nicest men I ever met in my life as far as treatment and respect for me and my family. So I guess everybody has a way of making a living, and you think they're a horrible person, but really, whoever knows a person? And I was pretty smart. I never had an inkling. So until this day, I'm not married and I'm not going to get married. I feel like I can take care of myself. There's no one says to me, you can't do this or you can't go there. I can do just about what I want to do. And I'm not a real ritzy person. It takes very little to make me happy. But I wouldn't be able to do all this if I had a husband that was ailing at home, or he didn't feel like going. So I'm better off single. Then I worry about myself. And up until this day, it's working out pretty good for me. I love country western music. I met Patsy Cline about 2 weeks before she got killed. She was at Wheeling, West Virginia at the Moose. Great, the greatest singer I've ever heard. And a terrific person, very down to earth. But I think my Uncle Ed used to play the guitar a little bit. My Uncle Roy did the Jew's harp. That no, you don't know where they go. He was great at that.
What memories do you have of your uncles, since you and Jeff and Connie, you all share the same uncles?
Well, there's some things I can't say. My grandfather got the shotgun after one of my uncles who had other ideas with a 15-year-old girl in the house. I just skip all that. Uncle Ed, yeah, my brother had to calm him down. But Uncle Roy was a good man. He'd drink it a little too much later on. But he loved his family. Super guy. And Papa made them behave. I'll tell you, he pulled out his shotgun. His son or no son, if they misbehaved, I think he might have shot them. Because he told them, it'll be this way. And I remember the old farmhouse. The guys towed to Mark with Grandpa and Grandma. And then they started getting married and having a bunch of kids. And Uncle Roy and Aunt Esther, I think they worked harder than any couple I've ever seen to get by. She's working, he's working.
Who's going to run for president that you would vote for?
I like Jeb Bush.
Do you really?
Jeb Bush did, and him and that Cuban fella that's running.
Yeah.
They're very,
Rubio.
friends. Now this is parting them a little bit because they're both running for the same job.
Right.
But they both have same ideas, although Rubio is strictly Spanish, and Jeb Bush is only Spanish when he forgets and says he's Spanish because his wife's Spanish. Okay? And he's got all those kids that are half and half. But he is a good, intelligent young man, a nice man. He's not doing it for the glory. He's doing it for what he feels is good for us. He did good in Florida as a governor.
Well, aren't you sick of the thought of the idea of a Clinton and Bush?
No, I'll tell
again?
you. No. I would take Clinton in a mile or 2 miles if I thought we're going to get him. Because he's got the guts and the intelligence. He deals beautifully with the foreigners. They all love Clinton. And he didn't give in to them. He talks their language. That's the best way I could put it. He could sit down and convince them the Brooklyn Bridge goes into Chicago. That's how he can talk to them. He's got a gift of gab that gets the, well, it wins them over. And he is smart.
So you didn't vote for Obama?
No way. I'm sorry, not because he's black. I didn't want him. Truman was my best man. You know, good old Truman. No, it's just a bunch of crap. You don't know. I would have liked to have seen Romney get in there if I had to go the other route. Because Romney can make money and take care of the people too. But this country, all we're doing is borrowing money to send it to another country. If we would stop sending money over there and take care of ours that are starving, maybe we'd be better off. We got little kids down in these little southern towns and all around that are going hungry all the time. And we're sending money over there, billions, to another country. We borrow from China and send it over there.
You're speaking common sense. Why do you think that the government doesn't understand that?
Because they're not going to make anything on it. That's why. They're always figuring, what am I going to get out of this? You don't think they're doing it for nothing. They take that job for that reason. How much can I get? How quick can I get it? It used to be what they wanted to feel they wanted to do for their country, when they can't even take care of the veterans that worked for us and lost their limbs for us. My brother was in the war. He was in 3 different services, 4 in the Navy, a year and a half or 2 in the paratroopers. Then he says, Mom, get me out of here. I don't like this. Say you need me at home. I don't like it. She'd get him out, and he'd go on another. He was in 3 different branches. He says, if I wasn't too old now, sis, I'd go back in again. Because he was in the invasion of Normandy. His ship was shot out from under him in the water 72 hours. Thank God, wasn't hurt. But the guys come back, they lose an arm and a leg and an arm, both legs. I never saw so many limbs missing on any gang of men in any war. And I think it has to do with, because they plant their bombs on kids and everything else, and you walk by and our boys get blown up. When I'm out with a fella, you better respect me or he's out the road.
That's what a lot of girls
Even
do.
to this day, I don't take disrespect. I don't like to hear filthy talk. Talk like us. I want to be talking. You speak to me like you would a lady. Don't go because I join in with the jokes and stuff. Don't start getting too nasty because I'll tell you off real quick. No. It's very important.